Welcome back. We are now hearing that Dogecoin is showing on-chain metrics that could signal a massive bull run. As we're seeing Ethereum volumes plummet, Solana is added to the stock exchange. There's a lot happening in MicroStrategy and Bitcoin as well, potentially a double bottom showing in MicroStrategy stock, and this could indicate massive bull indicators. And so that's what we're going to be discussing in today's video. And I'll be giving you guys my kind of opinions on everything that's going on in the markets. Again, these are just my opinions. I could be wrong, but I'd appreciate if you do give the video a free thumbs up. Also hit that subscribe button if you want to help support the channel. Click the join button down below to learn more about becoming a channel member, or you can leave a super chat down below in the comments of this video. Other than that, let's get into some FUD. We're going to start with the FUD from Standard Chartered. Now, if you guys follow my videos, just the other day I did a video basically where Standard Chartered, which is a mega financial bank in the United States, and I think they have branches all over the world. But anyway, their analysts cut the end of year target for Ethereum from $10,000 to $4,000, which is lower than Ethereum's all-time record high, which it has not really hit yet. And we haven't really seen massive rotations in the market. Granted, we are in a bull market. Granted, we have seen massive flows to the upside. Like Ethereum has gone from $800 to effectively $4,000 from the market low to the market high. Solana from $8 to $260. We've had some pullbacks here and there across the board. Obviously, Bitcoin's down about 20%-ish from its all-time record high. But guys, there's a lot happening in these markets. And so we're going to be starting right here. Standard Chartered, now they're saying more stuff negatively about Ethereum, saying Coinbase proactively sold $37 million of Ethereum in Q4. Now, like I said, they slashed their price prediction for this year, their price target from $10,000 to $4,000. But an analyst believes that the crypto exchange Coinbase proactively sold, and that's a quote, 12,652 Ethereum worth approximately $37 million throughout Q4 of 2024. They explain Coinbase's layer 2 network base drives demand for Ethereum, but the company's profit taking is hurting the underlying blockchain's price action. Here's the deal, guys. Why Coinbase sold in December or November, I don't know. I would imagine it was because the market was moving to the upside rather substantially. You can see that pretty much last year we were wavering. The beginning of the year we were high, then low, then high, then low from about August through November, and then Trump pump, right? And the Trump pump went through December. So we went effectively from pre-Trump pump $2,300 all the way up to about $4,000. So almost a doubling. And so if Coinbase, they probably bought in much lower than that. They were probably, yes, taking profits end of the year, tax purposes and all of that. I don't know what their reasoning was for that, but I don't know that you could say they proactively sold. Like what are they alluding to here? What are they trying to say they proactively sold? Are they saying that they sold on purpose to push the price down? Because now they're saying that the company's profit taking is hurting the underlying blockchain's price. Guys, this is absolute FUD and nonsense. FUD is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Now remember, FUD doesn't necessarily mean untrue. It just means fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? Is it fact that Coinbase sold? Apparently. But I mean, is it fact that they sold and to try to keep the price down, or that $37 million that was sold 5 months ago is affecting the price today? I mean, that's ridiculous, guys. It's completely absurd. $15 billion in volume on Ethereum in the last 24 hours. And they're stating that a $37 million sell did anything to the price? That's ridiculous. Anyway, the analyst said, my view is that the increased activity on Base increases demand for ETH in the first instance. The analyst continued saying, but then all of Base's profits, which are about 80% of the Base revenue, are sold ETH USD selling to effectively repatriate profits back to Coinbase. Well, yeah, that's how money exchange works, right? I mean, around the world, this works this way. right? A US company buys something from another country. Let's say they buy something from China. The US buys a lot of things from China. So then the Chinese company, if they receive US dollars, they go to their bank and they convert those dollars into the Chinese yuan. That's how money exchange works. That's how currencies operate, right? And to effectively say that utilizing the network for what it's meant to be used for is making the network go down in value, this is absurd because somebody is purchasing the Ethereum to pay those fees on base. So Coinbase selling is just, again, as they say, repatriating that back into the ecosystem, right? I mean, I don't understand what. I'm a YouTube analyst, right? And I cannot understand why they're trying to say that this is negatively affecting the price at all. This is complete FUD in my view. And yeah, I mean, listen, usually when FUD is at its peak is when the price is bottoming. And this is why I am getting more excited about the Ethereum price. I mean, I've even been considering selling some of my losses into Ethereum, although I think some of the losses can still gain more in percentage gains in profit than I could with Ethereum, just because of the market caps of some of the coins we're talking about here. And Ethereum price prospects are dim as Ethereum DEX volumes drop 34% in a week. Now I want you guys to notice the tone towards Ethereum is all negative. Just pay attention when we move over to Solana and Dogecoin and MicroStrategy in just a minute here. But yeah, ETH price struggles as Solanatron and Hyperliquid gain ground. What is needed to lure back people into Ethereum? Guys, it's not about luring people back into Ethereum, right? People own a lot of Ethereum. People trade a lot of Ethereum. The price is down because the global macro markets are down. And I don't think that we've seen the full rotation from Solana into Ethereum yet. It's happening. It is definitely happening. It's just not realized. The market hasn't realized it yet because there is a lot of transactions that occur, right? $15 billion of volume on Ethereum in the last 24 hours. It's literally almost as much as Bitcoin, right? And so there's a lot happening on Ethereum. So the to make the price move, there has to be some time or massive inflows. I don't necessarily know that we have massive inflows right now, just because, again, global macro market, whatever the Federal Reserve is doing, this is what central banks around the world are doing. Even if they lower a 0.25% here and there, it's not really going to do anything in the long term. Like, people want, percentages drop, right? They want to see 2% interest rate or 3% interest rate, maybe even 4% interest rate, not 7, 6, even 5. I think is still going to be an issue for the markets. And so once the money starts flowing, once they start printing more money, we're going to see inflows into all these assets. But the FUD is real right now with Ethereum. I mean, it's crazy. And they're saying DEX volumes are dropping 34% in 1 week. Well, pretty much that happens when sentiment is down, when the markets are down. But I would remind you, if you look at transaction revenue on Solana from January till today, they're down like almost 90%, from I think 50 million a day down to 5 million or 4 million a day. And that's not sustainable either. But what made the Solana revenue rise? A lot of that was the meme coins. That's not sustainable. But what Ethereum has built on it is sustainable. It is global. It is decentralized. There's a lot plugged into it. And so the issue here is that, similar to how Bitcoin moves the rest of the market, Ethereum moves based on the rest of its market. And its market encompasses all the layer twos, all the coins, all the tokens that were issued on Ethereum, all the connecting blockchains. And so, yeah, you see Ethereum down 35%, but then Ethereum layer 2, Arbitrum is down 41%, Base down 41%, right? And again, these are DEX volumes. So whenever you see Ethereum sneeze, everybody else will get the flu. Avalanche, another Ethereum adjacent, down 45%. So they're saying, well, Ethereum is looking dim. And it's like, what about these other coins? Is Arbitrum going into the negative? Yeah. Is it going to go below $0? Probably not. That's not possible. So yeah, there's a lot of FUD on Ethereum. When you see peak FUD, this is an indicator. This is an indicator. When people are talking about selling their coins, myself included, um, bottom indicator, right? I mean, even me being able to identify, okay, and but we also have to keep in mind this right here from last year looks like a double top, right? You can see on the zoomed out chart and on the zoomed in chart. So yeah, this looks very double top-ish, but maybe it's not. I mean, I'm not a chartist and I don't necessarily believe charts 100%, but I mean, this looks like a typical double top and then a massive drawdown from that price, and that wasn't even an all-time record high. So we'll see kind of what happens with Ethereum. Personally, I'm still bullish on it. I still like Ethereum. I still think that, if we're talking about fundamentals, nothing even comes close. And this brings us to the chosen one, and that's Solana. But before we go there, Hashtag amends their S1 for crypto index ETF and adds 7 altcoins. So effectively, Hashdex is trying to get a crypto index ETF. It's similar to like the NASDAQ. And so it's just an index. But then when companies want to buy the index, right, they need to buy those companies that are in the index or buy those stocks or cryptos that are in the index. And so this could, in the longer term, be very bullish for some of these coins with more inflows coming in. Now, they proposed adding 7 specific altcoins to the index, including Solana, XRP, Cardano, Chainlink, Avalanche, Litecoin, and Uniswap. Hashtag's NASDAQ Crypto Index US ETF holds only Bitcoin and Ether currently. According to the filing, the proposed altcoin additions are decentralized peer-to-peer computer systems that rely on public key cryptography for security, and their values are primarily influenced by market supply and demand. Now, this is another kind of tell, because all of these agencies are becoming very pro crypto now with the regime change. This could indicate, we know that a lot of these ETFs have been submitted for approval. How long it's going to take for them to get approved, I don't know. I would imagine it's going to be on an accelerated track. Now, what that means, again, I don't know. Maybe this year, maybe within a year. I think most things are going to happen towards the middle of the year, based on just what this cycle is very different, right? I keep saying this on my videos. This cycle is very different. It's different than the previous cycles in both quality pumps, meaning most of the stuff that's pumping or making the massive returns are absolute garbage, and they're not real pumps. Like, there's no liquidity in these, like the meme coins, right? If you did get in early in these meme coins, and let's say you turn $10,000 into $10 million, you probably wouldn't even be able to sell into that. There's no liquidity, right? So there has been no real actual pumps besides Solana. Now, obviously, Bitcoin has pumped, right? But it's really only pumped double. It's only 2x. Granted, from the bear market bottom, Bitcoin was at $18,000, $20,000. So we went up 5x, went up to $100,000. But that wasn't a pump. That was like a multi-year step up, right, or increase in the price. We have not really seen any of these coins actually move substantially. And so when I see things like this for a crypto index ETF, like this could be the start of beginning to see like different cryptos kind of moving higher. But at the end of the day, the way this market is moving this cycle, it seems like most of the real big moves are going to happen in the middle to end of the year. Now, one of the catalysts for that could be the anticipation of maybe some kind of buying of Bitcoin in a strategic reserve. 2 is all of these ETFs that are getting approved. And then 3 would be more investment from traditional funds into these ETFs, into these crypto-related products. And so, again, that's not going to happen overnight, but when we start to see the approvals or start to hear the announcements of this happening, I would give it like 3 months, and then we're going to start to see the markets really starting to rotate over. Now, that may already be underway if we've double bottomed. And that's going to bring us, before we get into all the Solana stuff, MicroStrategy's double bottom may be a signal for a new bull run, right? So let's talk about Solana, and then we're going to come back to MicroStrategy, because MicroStrategy is going to be a key, because MicroStrategy can positively affect us to the upside, but it could also negatively affect us to the downside. And the negative effects to the downside could be catastrophic for altcoins, even though most of the stuff is going to be centered in Bitcoin, but we'll get there in a minute. Solana futures will debut on the CME exchange. Here's what you need to know. So, yeah, Solana is getting Wall Street approved, right? Solana futures trading debuted on Monday on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, bringing spot Solana exchange traded funds closer to fruition. They said this is a major milestone for Solana and paves the way for even if the eventual approval of Solana ETFs. Now, effectively, people are cheering this on, and the Solana ecosystem is cheering it on. Apparently, most of the Solana ecosystem, by the way, is meme coin traders. So, do they really understand what's going on in the global macro markets? I don't know. I don't even know that I do. But when we're talking about Solana, guys, and futures, as I always say, futures are a derivative product, right? It's similar to options, similar to perpetual futures, perpetual swaps. I believe that these derivative products are, number one, putting more control in Wall Street's hands. So Wall Street is making the determining factor on where the markets are going, not the market, not retail, not people, you know, that are in the market are doing. And so we have to understand what this means, right? I believe Solana has more to fall, right? I believe we're going under $100 in the relatively near term. And so whenever futures or derivatives launch, I typically look at it as a pause. Like, don't even touch that stock, don't even touch that crypto. Wait and watch what happens. Because typically when you see these products start trading, there's no volume, there's no liquidity. So they're very thinly traded, and they can trade to the downside very rapidly and to the upside very rapidly. But it's more important to see how the underlying asset is behaving compared to the derivative. So if the derivative goes up or down and Solana doesn't move, then you know that Solana is independent of the derivative. But if you start to see the derivative like go down in price, and then Solana goes down in price, and then the derivative goes up in price, Solana goes up in price, before each other, this is an indicator that the derivative is going to control the market. Once the traders realize that they can control the market, downside, like almost immediate downside. And this is maybe why we see when these derivatives launch, most of these assets go down in the short term before they go higher. But we're seeing this strategic positioning from the banks, right? The banks are fudding Ethereum. Why would they be fudding Ethereum? Well, we know the banks utilize Ethereum's blockchain. We know the banks are getting involved in crypto. Could it be that they're fudding it to buy in? Listen, this has been a theory for the ages, right? Since I started learning about crypto, people would say, they're fudding it so they could buy it lower. They're fudding it so they could buy it lower. I'm like, why didn't they just buy it last year when it was lower, right? Now they're fudding it to buy it. I don't necessarily know that that's true, but they are definitely fudding Ethereum. When we don't see any FUD about Solana. Solana is amazing. Everybody loves Solana, right? But pay attention to this. Solana stablecoin positioning threatens extreme Solana volatility. And we haven't really seen massive volatility. We've seen kind of moves. Volatility would be like in one day, 40% up or 40% down. Anyway, investors' stablecoin positioning on the Solana network and a key technical chart pattern threaten more volatility for the Solana token. Solana's transport layer saw extreme volatility in trading of Tether's stablecoin, which may indicate that traders are repositioning in search of new investment opportunities. Well. Tether trading on Solana's transport layer. I don't know why I keep saying layer. Saw an over 137% surge during the last week of February after seeing a 61% plunge during the previous week, according to a report. The stablecoin trading spike show an unparalleled level of trading activity that may signal more volatility for Solana. The CEO of Mercurio said the frenetic activity may indicate that the chain is prone to be more volatile. aka more downside. He said, however, Solana's inherent strengths, fast transaction processing, high scalability, and an active trading ecosystem may also be factors. This is against a backdrop of an ecosystem attracting, at times, high trading volumes. He said, notably, dexes on Solana, such as Jupiter and Radium, have ignited significant interest. Meanwhile, a key emerging technical pattern may be decisive for Solana's price action in the near term. Bear or bull, right? This is why I don't really do charting, because it's like you either go up or you go down. It's like I could have done that without learning charting patterns. Anyway, so one of the Solana hourly charts show a converging triangle. Both bullish or bearish moves are possible. It's like, thanks. I didn't learn anything from looking at that chart then. Obviously, it's either bullish or bearish. I mean, I guess it could be sideways trading as well. But either way, here's the point, guys. I've been explaining to my viewers for weeks now, literally weeks. Basically, I've been explaining for weeks that because of the Solana meme coin drain, Solana is going to be drained. There's a video where the thumbnail says Solana drain game. And in the Solana drain game, yeah, people when they get out of meme coins, they go to stable coins. When they get out of Solana, they go to a stable coin. Now, they may go to a stable coin on Solana, but then they don't want to stay in the stable coin, guys. They want to buy other coins. So what are they going to do? Personally, what I believe they are doing and have been doing is rotating from Solana to Ethereum. So you see all this transaction volume in Solana. You see all the stable coin moves in Solana and on Solana. Where's the money flowing? It's flowing to Ethereum. That's my personal opinion. It's probably going to other altcoins as well. But Solana had its run. Now it's time for others. And I think that's kind of like what they're basically trying to tell us from all of this stable coin repositioning, as they call it. And by the way, you can buy Ethereum on Solana as well. So they may even stay in the Solana ecosystem. Anyway, back to MicroStrategy, because this is a key, guys. MicroStrategy is the key this cycle, I'm telling you. Maybe not to the upside, because clearly we have seen, although MicroStrategy has been a key here as well, because we're learning as we go what the market does based on MicroStrategy's actions, right? So if another company comes out and says, oh, we're going to buy $1 billion in Bitcoin tomorrow, do I think the market is going to move? Yes and no. The market will move on the announcement. But when it's time for the actual purchase, the market will go down. That's going to be a perfect example of buy the rumor, sell the news. Because every single time MicroStrategy has bought, the price has not gone higher in the last 6 months. Every single time. Every time they bought, the market stays flat or goes down. And they're buying at the top, literally. We've been down 20% for the last 1 month, and they have not purchased really any more Bitcoin. But they were purchasing at the tippy top all-time record high. And so this double bottom is very important to understand, because MicroStrategy is at this pivotal point right now. Their Bitcoin strategy needs to work because they are over-levered and they have very few options to repay that leverage, right? Because it's either issuing more stock, which they can do, but then that devalues the current stock that they have, which has not really performed in the last couple of months. And so investors are kind of not so happy. But then on the Bitcoin side, right, they owe a lot of money for this Bitcoin that they say they're not selling, but they're also just keep buying at the top. In the long term, this strategy will work. In the long term, I personally believe it will work. But in the medium and short term, it's very, very risky. And so we need to see a turnaround in the MicroStrategy stock. And the only way for that to actually happen is for the Bitcoin price to go up. There's no other way. There's no other way. And so a bullish technical pattern contrasting with the one Bitcoin that warned of a recent market swoon is seemingly emerging on MicroStrategy price chart. The MicroStrategy pattern is a double bottom. Hold on, I have like 40 things popping up. The MicroStrategy pattern, a double bottom, comprises two consecutive troughs at about the same price, said to reflect a downtrend exhaustion and a trend line, a so-called neckline drawn through the high point between them. A move beyond this trend line confirms the breakout or the bearish to bullish trend change. And so that's especially true when the pattern unfolds after a notable slide, as in MicroStrategy's case, and the gap between the troughs and the high is at least 10% according to technical theory. In MicroStrategy's case, it's greater than 35%. So you can see double bottom right here, 35% from the top to that low. The chart shows a double bottom in MicroStrategy at around $230 since late February, with a neckline resistance identified by the early March recovery to $320 right here. So yeah, I mean, that does look like a double bottom. It is on a zoomed out chart. Double top definitely looks more double top-ish than the double bottom looks double bottom-ish. Now, I'm not a chartist. I don't necessarily believe in charting, but I use it as reference, okay? Because really researching crypto and analyzing crypto it's a compilation of all the research that you've done, right? You don't just take one data point, you're taking multiple data points from multiple different blockchains, multiple different investment ecosystems to identify what's the best trade to make. And so I use charting as kind of like, okay, they're saying that this is double bottom, bullish. Here's another area bullish. Here's another area bullish. But I also know, regardless of whether I do believe this is a double bottom or not, MicroStrategy is going to keep buying Bitcoin potentially at the top. And by them doing this, or how they do this, they're raising money by selling stock. And the stock that they're selling is going to be diluting the stock that you own. So over the course of time, that dilution cannot keep up with the stock price, right? So the stock price is going to go down because they keep selling more shares onto the open market to then go buy Bitcoin at the top of the market. This trade is going to be exhausted after a while. And so I don't know that. Now, if MicroStrategy continues to not issue new stock to then go buy Bitcoin, and they're able to raise money in a different way that doesn't include selling stock into the open market, yes, the double bottom charting pattern is very relevant, and this bullish signal is very relevant. But again, they just approved an increase from 300 million shares approximately to 10 billion shares, which is a 30x. And so when are they going to start selling those shares? Are they going to start selling it? Where is the risk profile going to be for MicroStrategy? You know, I'm not bearish on MicroStrategy. I'm cautiously bullish, and I do own the stock. And there's other ways that you could play the stock as well, but there is a lot of risk here. And when we do reverse, like, because really the only way, like we said, the only way MicroStrategy can move up is Bitcoin price going higher. So if Bitcoin doubles, MicroStrategy price can double, maybe triple, just based on the speculation. And if they're buying more, maybe it can go up a little bit more. But once we reach a certain valuation, then you're going to see massive, massive shorting, massive betting against the stock. And I don't know that the fundamentals or a short squeeze would be doable when their whole strategy is just Bitcoin based on this debt or based on selling the shares. So hopefully this is a double bottom. Guys, I own the stock, right, when I'm recording this video. So it's not like I'm trying to FUD or I don't feel good about it. I'm cautiously optimistic about MicroStrategy. I think MicroStrategy can do really well if the price of Bitcoin does move rapidly, right? I think small moves will cause some volatility in MicroStrategy that could be tradable. But if you're talking about like a hold and then a sell at a massive gain, there has to be movement in Bitcoin. Like I'm talking about 84,000 to like 125 overnight. Are we going to get there? I don't know. And is MicroStrategy going to buy at $120,000 overnight? I hope not, because they're not buying at 84,000. So if they're buying at 125,000 and not at 84,000, yeah, they're adding to the risk and adding to my anxiety about that risk, right? Even if I didn't hold the stock, I mean, I follow it on this channel and it's very interesting to follow, but it's very nerve wracking. And this brings us to Dogecoin. Now, Dogecoin is the premier meme coin. You know, we've talked a lot about meme coins on this channel. It is the original meme coin. It's a joke coin. And so even though we've seen a massive outflow from the meme coins, I think Dogecoin is still set to do really, really well in the near term. And even on-chain metrics are signaling a potential turning point once the crypto market stabilizes. So like most meme coins, Dogecoin has been hammered during the 2-month crypto-wide retracement. Despite this correction, sentiment data shows that wallets holding at least 1 million Doge tokens have been rising since the start of February. Moreover, active addresses are also at a 4-month high, reaching 150,000 addresses. The rise in holders' wallets and utility indicates a potential breakout on the horizon for the dog-themed meme coin. And I would agree. I mean, we have come down substantially in Dogecoin. I think it's just kind of the overall market drain. But we haven't seen Dogecoin really moving with meme coins, so to speak. Dogecoin is moving with the market. So maybe it's kind of outgrew its meme coin status, but you can see it's all the Trump pump, right? I mean, really all the gains that we saw in 2024 was the Trump pump. There was no actual like pumps this cycle. It's really crazy. I mean, we've had moves to the upside, but you can see the only major spike in the market, not just with Doge, but with most of these coins, was just after or at the election. And we went up for about a month and then came right back down, and we're basically to where we were before the election. So I think a lot of that was speculation, and hopefully, I mean, we are seeing a lot of things getting implemented. Pro crypto stands, agency regulator directors have been changed out for pro crypto people. So there's a lot of good sentiment. I think that just really the global macro picture, there's still a lot of concerns with tariffs and taxes and business structure and all of that. We're hearing from a lot of companies that they're not feeling that the consumer is strong at this point. And so we're going to get there this year. And I think that we're going to see hopefully a lot more pumps, because this is really boring market, guys. It's really boring. And the fact that Doge was even able to get to 45 cents or whatever it was, almost 50 cents, just based on the Trump pump, right? And we have Doge, Department of Government Efficiency, that's run by Elon. We know Elon, or we think Elon is the Dogecoin billionaire. Very, very possible. And so, yeah, I mean, guys, there's so much happening in the markets. There's so much to talk about. I could be talking about this for days, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on everything we covered in today's video. Ethereum volume plummets, Solana on the stock exchange, Standard Charter and the FUD going on with Ethereum, MicroStrategy. Guys, so much is happening. Invest responsibly. Do your own research. See when I see you. And as always, crypto on.